You want to talk about low budget videos? This is as low as it gets. 7 computers, and I'm using a 100-year-old chalkboard. Now, here's a fact. The reason why seed experiments, and by the way, I'm going to get to space travel here very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. This is a mass. Let's say this is a magnet. The reason why the seed experiments work so radically is there's a phase shift. And due to geomagnetic precession, there is a phase variance. It's actually shaped like an egg. This would be the north pole of a magnet, and this is the south pole of a magnet, and it exists at a perfect ratio, which is never perfect. And the geomagnetic precession, also called the Lamour frequency, exists at a mean harmonic of a ratio of 1 to 5. In other words, the volume up here is a ratio of 1, and the volume down here in the south pole exists at 5. Now, the only reason anything actually has mass and magnitude is due to, of course, the big M, or magnetism. So, if we wanted to travel at superluminal speeds, here we got our egg shape again. You know, it's kind of hard to draw an egg shape, and we have a ratio which exists at the midpoint right here, a ratio of 1 to 5 of the mean geomagnetic precession, 1 to 5, which of course is 1 to 1.618, etc., etc., etc. If we have our geomagnetic precession here that exists at all mass at a perfect mean ratio of 1 to 5 to actually travel at superluminal speeds, you cannot, if of course a spacecraft were to have mass and magnitude, which pretty sure that if you're going to have living creatures inside of a spaceship, they would, the spacecraft would have to have mass and magnitude. In other words, it'd actually have to have a specific geometry. Now, without going into speculation, I can say one thing for certain here, and this should actually answer a lot of the stuff that we've actually seen, and I'm not going to get into radical speculation. I'm simply going to talk about, from the standpoint of inescapable facts of field theory, the only way that you could travel at superluminal speeds or near superluminal speeds, let's erase this midline here, is if we travel with inside this egg of the big M, of magnetism, okay? But the only way to actually accelerate to superluminal speeds, we'd actually have to have, I know this is not a perfect shaped egg, I'm going to turn the egg upside down. This is a little bit crooked here. It's hard to draw a perfect egg shape. Some eggs actually look like this, don't they? I've seen some weird eggs. Is to actually have a craft that is shaped within the geometry of this egg. And since the mean point, here we have phi, here we have a volume of 1, the only way and the fastest way, or the fastest possible way at near luminal or superluminal speeds, is to have a spacecraft with the geometry or parameters with inside this geomagnetic precession. Also look this up. It's called the Lamour frequency, L-R frequency, Lamour frequency. Knowing that frequency and calibrating it correctly, the mean frequency, by the way, is 42.4 megahertz. Geomagnetic precession is within the geometry of mass and magnitude of magnetism itself, which is this egg shape. So, if we erase out the bottom part of this egg here, okay, so the maximum either near luminal or superluminal speed geometry of a aircraft, a spacecraft specifically, would have to be at the geometry of the base end of an egg shape. Of course, here we have phi. Of course, the midpoint is down here, but we obviously don't need this extended geometry down here. Okay, so what does this look like to you? This is the fastest possible superluminal geometry of any spacecraft that has mass and magnitude, which you would have to if you're going to have living critters inside of it, right, that are traveling, correct? So, this means not speculation, not wild, harebrained BS ideas, simply from the basis, since the entire universe is governed by magnetism and dielectricity, the maximum allowable geometry for the fastest possible speeds of any spacecraft that is traveling at luminal or superluminal speeds must be, at the bare minimum, I'm just drawing a midline point here. The base could, of course, be like this. The base could actually be like this. You could actually have a craft that looks like this at the bottom. However, as nature very well knows, and any human being very well knows, is that the weakest point is a non-curve. This is why we have so many curved lines on cars. So we'd actually have to have them base it like a bare minimum of this. So any vehicle that has both mass and magnitude must, at the very bare minimum, the same thing on a airfoil of an airplane, to get lift. So to fall within the parameters of the egg-shaped geometry of geomagnetic precession, which exists at a ratio of 1 to phi, with this phi geometry as the base, we're looking at the base end of an egg here, where we have the phi geometry. This means that any spacecraft traveling at luminal or superluminal must have, as its point of acceleration, a curvature that equals the base of an egg. Period. I kind of drew that crooked. So, without engaging in idle BS speculation, this is necessitated, or as the ancient Greeks would say, ananke. So, hope that gave you some ideas. This is inescapable and irrefutable. If a spacecraft has mass and magnitude and it's carrying living critters, which obviously themselves have mass and magnitude, it cannot violate this geometry. It can't be, it can't be like this. Travel at superluminal or near superluminal. The acceleration geometry, just like an airfoil, has to have a specific geometry and has to fall within the parameters for lift. Any airfoil, it has to fall within this curvature of the base phi curvature of geomagnetic precession, and that base phi curvature is this, which is same curvature on the median base of the bottom or the fat end of an egg. Thanks so much for watching. This is what we call a low-tech video. Now I'm out to go shooting downtown. Bye. Shooting a camera, okay? I want to make that clear. Photography, okay? That kind of shooting. Bye.